And of course, like any good stream on Front Chill, I was muted. So, welcome again, this time audibly, to this special holiday edition of Front Chill. We're going to put this under the Pip and Pixel umbrella as it's gaming adjacent. Those things of wonder that inspire us to storytell along with gaming, etc. I have a trusty assistant keeping my right thigh warm. She's just out of frame though. Let me see if I can activate Cat. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Out of the claws. Anyway, well, there's part of it. We have another angle set up because the stories this evening I have planned all have pictures. So from over here, you'll be able to get a nice down angle and maybe you'll see part of my trusty assistant. Most of them will be holiday themed with a classic to end out the night, but we have one in there that's a little more recent and a personal favorite of mine. And if you like the D&D, I hope you will enjoy that as well. So let me switch over to our other view. There we go. Oh, and please, warm up next to the fire. That's what it's there for. And let's see what our first story will be this evening. Hello. Excuse me. Excuse me, ma'am. Of course, my assistant jumped off and is just out of frame sniffing the books. The first story this evening will be My Penguin Osbert. I've always been a fan of penguins since a very young age, and it became sort of a joke as I got older, and then stopped being a joke again because penguins are rad. And one year as a gift, Osbert here was gifted to me by my now wife, and so I'd like to share it with you. My Penguin Osbert by Elizabeth Cody Kimmel, illustrated by H.B. Lewis. Let me see, get my angle just right here for both the head and the art. So I'm not going to read the dust jacket on this one, as it's you should get a copy yourself. For my friend, agent, and idol Marcia Wernick, who always knows just what to ask for. For Stacy, who didn't even ask for Osbert, but loves him anyway. My Penguin Osbert. Elizabeth Cody Kimmel, H.B. Lewis. This year, I was very specific in my letter to Santa Claus. We've had a few misunderstandings in the past. For instance, last year I asked for a fire engine red race car with a detachable roof, a lightning bolt on the side, and retracting headlights, and he did get me one. But it was only 3 inches long. And the year before, I had really wanted a trampoline, but I wasn't sure how to spell it. So in my letter, I just sort of described what I wanted. Santa sent me a pogo stick. Safety first, kids. The helmet. So this year, let me get that good art in there. So this year, I was really, really, really careful. I wrote Santa a long letter and told him that I would like to have my own pet penguin. Not a stuffed penguin, but a real one from Antarctica. I told him my penguin should be 1 foot tall, white and black with a yellow beak, and his name should be Osbert. I included a drawing. I put extra postage on the envelope and sent it off a whole month early. Then I waited. When Christmas morning came, I was the first one downstairs. There he was. He was black and white with a yellow beak and perfectly 12 inches tall. He was moving and breathing and everything. Around his neck was a tag. It said, "Hello, my name is Osbert." Santa had come through. I wanted Osbert to meet everybody. I wanted to take him to my room. Plus, I wanted to open my other presents. But Osbert really wanted to go outside and play. It was pretty cold and kind of windy. There was a foot or two of snow on the ground and no sun. But I had asked for Osbert, and now I had him. So I went outside. We played powder slide and wrecked the igloo. We had snowball fights and made ice penguins. We escaped from the jaws of imaginary leopard seals. Osbert wanted to go swimming, but I explained that it might be possible, it might not be possible. So we sang some of the old Penguin songs instead. I don't know what an old Penguin song is. That night, I was ready to go straight to bed. We'd had such a big day, but Osbert wanted to take a bath. He filled the tub to the very top and got in. Osbert unwrapped all the bars of soap and floated them around like icebergs. After a while, I had prune fingers and my skin itched from all the soap. But I had asked for Osbert, and now I had him. And Osbert liked playing in a cold bath. The next morning, Mom said she'd make anything I wanted for breakfast. When I closed my eyes, I saw a stack of chocolate chip waffles with heated syrup, a platter piled high with fried sausage, and an icy pitcher of freshly squeezed mango juice. But Osbert doesn't like rich food, and he doesn't like hot food, and he doesn't like sweet food. Osbert wanted cold creamed herring with seaweed jam for breakfast. So that's what we had. I am intrigued by Mom's larder, if that's what she had handy for that breakfast. Well done. And after breakfast, it was my turn to do chores. So I did the dishes and went upstairs to clean my room. When I came back down, I saw that Osbert had been working too. He had built an entire ice village out of freezer pops, frozen leftovers, and tubs of ice cream. It was all beginning to melt. Osbert, of course, couldn't hold a towel in his flippers, but I had asked for Osbert, and now I had him, so I cleaned up the mess by myself. That afternoon, when Osbert was watching the Weather Channel on cable TV, I secretly wrote Santa another letter. Dear Santa, how are you and Mrs. Claus? We are fine. Thank you for the great penguin named Osbert. We take cold baths together and have creamed herring for breakfast. I'm getting used to spending all day in the snow. Plus, it turns out I didn't have frostbite after all. Your friend, Joe. P.S. One more thing. Santa, if you feel like maybe I should have asked for a different present and you want to swap, that would be okay. And while Osbert was leafing through a snow globe catalog, I snuck out and mailed the letter. A couple of days later, I woke up to find a package at the foot of my bed. There was a tag with my name on it signed Santa. Inside the box was a red pullover sweater and 2 free passes to the grand opening of Antarctic World at the zoo. After Osbert made a shrimp sculpture out of the wrapping paper, he wanted to go right away. But he didn't want to take the bus. The zoo was a long way away, but I had asked for Osbert, and now I had him, so we walked. When we got to Antarctic World, Osbert headed straight for the Penguin Palace. There was a huge snowy hill on an ice slide leading down to a big pool. There were leopard seals painted on the walls. Tiny bergs of real ice were floating in the water. And then a door opened in the wall, and a guy came out and started tossing creamed herring to all the penguins. Sounds like a good gig. When it got to be closing time, I told Osbert we had to leave. He waddled over to me, but I knew he felt at home in the Penguin Palace. It had everything he needed. Osbert was the first Christmas present Santa ever gave me that I really wanted. I had asked for Osbert, and I had gotten him. But Osbert needed slides, and leopard seals, and plenty of herring. I asked him if he would be happier living at the Penguin Palace. Osbert looked into my eyes, and then he nodded. It's a little lonely at home without Osbert, and my new sweater itches my neck a little bit right under my chin. But it's nice to be warm, and I had chocolate chip waffles for breakfast. Next Saturday is Kids Visit Free Day at Antarctic World, and I don't have bus fare, but I can walk. I'll wear my red sweater so Osbert will be sure to recognize me. And next year, Christmas is only 11 months away. I've thought about it a bit, and I already know what I want. I'm sure I can't get into too much trouble with just one helicopter. Got to keep everything going. A little Christmas cheer for you. Whether you like more egg or more nog, hopefully you're having a good time. Now the next is where we get a little more silly. This one is another one of my favorites. Um, I'm a big fan of different dialects and ways people form their words. I do silly things when I talk as well. And but one thing that I really enjoy is just listening to how people come about, how they're trying to articulate themselves. And, you know, it's awesome. Diversity is fantastic. And I would like to share with you this unique Christmas story. Cajun Night Before Christmas. It is written in dialect, so I will do my best to butcher it as little as possible, but it's just too good not to share. Illustrated by Jim Rice. Cajun Night Before Christmas, full color edition. Make sure I got my page cam all set there. There we go. Cajun Night Before Christmas by Trosclair, edited by Howard Jacobs, illustrated by James Rice. I might have said a different name earlier. James Rice, it's right there. 'Twas the night before Christmas. Little shack in the bayou down there. And all through the house, they don't a ting pass, not even a mouse. And the children been nuzzled good snug on the floor, and Mama passed the pepper through the crack on the dough. Then Mama in the fireplace done roast up the ham, stir up the gumbo, and make bake the yam. Going to town over there. Can smell it from here. Then out on the bayou, they got such a clatter, make sound like old Boudreaux, done fall off his ladder. Boudreaux, my bad. Done fall off his ladder. I run like a rabbit to go to the door, trip over the dog and fall on the floor. That's the dog. He's falling over the dog. Well, tripped over. As I look out the door in the light of the moon, I think, man, you crazy or got the old too soon. Even the dog and the cat are checking things out. The keen eye of you may notice something odd. 'Cause there on the bayou, when I stretch my neck stiff, there ain't alligator a-pulling the skiff. And a little fat drover with a long pole and stick, I know right away got to be old Saint Nick. Mo faster and faster, the gator they came. He whistle and holler and call him that by name. Ha Gaston, hey Tiboy, hey Pierre and Alcier, Guy Ninette, Guy Suzette, Celeste and Renee. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, make crawl alligator and be sure you don't fall. I don't know about you, but the alligator scaling the hut is a little scary, but we'll see how it goes. Like Tante Flo's cat, through the tree top he fly, when the big old hound dog come a run hisself by. Yeah, I'm agreeing with the pets on this one. Like that up the porch, them old gator climb with the skiff full of toy and St. Nicholas behind. Then on top of the porch roof, it sound like the hail when all them big gator done sot down their tail. Maybe I should have put subtitles on this one. We'll keep going. Then down the chimney, I yell with the bam, and St. Nicholas fall and sit on the yam. Remember before, Mom was baking the yam? Well, I don't think we want the yam anymore. Sacre, he exclaimed. My pant got a hole. I done sot myself on them red hot coal. Action shots. The best. He got on his foots and jumped like a cat. Out to the floor where he land with a splat. For that many capitals, it should have been a louder splat. But whatever. He was dressed in muskrat from his head to his foot, and his clothes was all dirty with ashes and soot. A sack full of plaything he throw on his back. He looked like a burglar in this, and that's for a fact. His eyes how they shine, his dimple how merry. Maybe he been drink de wine from blackberry. His cheek was like rose, his nose like a cherry. On second thought, maybe he lap up de sherry. With snow white chin whisker and quivering belly, he shook when he laughed like that strawberry jelly. But a wink in his eye and a shook of his head make me confidence that ain't got to be scared. He done do no talking, gone straight to his work, put plating in sock, and then turned with a jerk. He put both his hand there on top of his head, cast an eye on the chimney, and then he done said, with all of that fire and them burning hot flame, maybe I ain't going back out the way that I came. Oh, sorry about the angle there. Let me recalibrate for the close-up cam. There we go. So he run out the door and climbed to the roof. He ain't no fool him for to make one more goof. That's a wallpaper worthy. Maybe I'll put that on my phone later. He jump in his skiff and crack his big whip. The gator move down and don't make one slip. And I hear him shout loud as a splashing he go. Merry Christmas to all till I see you some more. And of course that was Cajun Night Before Christmas, illustrated by Jim Rice, by Trosclair, edited by Howard Jacobs. All right. Don't worry, kitties. We're halfway there. We're moving through them. But don't worry, we're not rushing either. So next is a new classic in my household. This is not exactly holiday themed, but it is definitely something that I think should be celebrated. This is Lexcalibur. Useful poetry for adventurers above and below the world, by Jerry Holkins and Mike Krahulik. Some of you might recognize those names from a certain website called Penny Arcade. The back of the dust jacket is also delightful. You seem like someone who would understand a book is a friend you can hold in your hand. So on this one, the dust jacket is pretty good. About the creators. This is Jerry Holkins, and this is Mike Krahulik. They've been best friends for a long time and have made lots of things together, including this book. All right, let me get my angle right here as we go. Lexcalibur. For the enemies, for my enemies who have made me wise. I'm not going to read the contents, as I'm going to read the entire contents. Let me see, is that a good... that's a good angle. Okay, all right. The eyes have it. Don't jump to conclusions because I'm an eyeball that floats through hallways and glistens with drool. Technically, yes, my hair has more eyeballs, but ask any monster, they'll tell you I'm cool. Little top hat. My kind of guy. Good advice about bad advice. Some books may be comfortably judged by their covers. Some people who wander can't find their way home. Some caves are mouths where strange birds may hover. Some brothers are brigands. Some sisters are gnomes. Lesser known werebeasts. Everyone's talking about silly old werewolves. Howling old werewolves, nobody cares. There's buckets of were-things that you've never heard of, lurking in darkness, scheming in lairs. But where are the wares no one's ever heard of? Friends, there are wares we know only a third of. Please spare some pity for gentle were-kitties, sleeping all fuzzy in big plate mail boots. And do take a moment for all the were-rodents, the were-kitties chase till the big were-owl hoots. It's late in the were-swamp where were-toads are leaping. Do try and be quiet, the were-beds are sleeping. Surprise! What could be in there? Mystical helms? With jewels and strange letters from faraway realms? with silvery, or maybe a cape with silvery stitching, to shield me from magic when witches are witching. Could be a necklace, with gold and gems strung, but no, it's just teeth. Well, teeth and a tongue. The Riddle of the Black Bridge. Of Black Bridge. Proper noun. There's letters underneath the bridge, but nobody can read them. Peter said his father said that some day we may need them. When our dads were young, I'm told, the words down there were clearer. They burned with noble purpose when magic winds were nearer. When the giants came, we looked beneath the sooty stone. The words that had been written there were dull and barely shown. There's letters underneath the bridge, but nobody can read them. And since no one can read them, well, nobody can heed them. Sword of my father's. The blade, well, it's nothing to look at, and this hilt has seen better days. The crossguard is dented from guarding, the tang and the leather part ways. The pommel fell off in the forest, I'll have to find it or try. But the scabbard, it says, in clear letters, with you, as ever, am I. The Last of the Red Seekers. Carrick the wizard, collector of gizzards, froze to death when he got himself lost in a blizzard. Sir Harold the knight died of a fright, was raised from the dead, died again the same night. Mina the thief, please do pardon my grief, disagreed sharply with very rare beef. I'm the cleric, but then got changed to a hen. Lucky for me, I can still hold a pen. Elves of the Dolores Valley. Elves of morning, you should know, do not like elves of evening. If evening elves start coming round, then morning elves are leaving. Double elves are twice as tall, and sapling elves are little. River elves are always running, peanut elves are brittle. Tender elves are somewhat firm, ask their sons and daughters. Balmy elves are somewhat hot, but probably could be hotter. Feather elves aren't elves at all, they're birds with little tufts. They look sort of like an elf, but maybe that's enough. Vizier. Viziers are so utterly evil. A vizier is never a friend. He takes no vacation from his grim vocation, so don't have a vizier. The end. Doomblade. Make sure we get a good angle of that one. Yeah, there we go. Some blades have a skull or two, or 3 small skulls at most. But there's a sword tucked in this hoard, with 10 skulls and a ghost. It couldn't be more spooky. You have to see this thing. You pull it from a long, thin skull, and hold a skull to swing. And it's not the most convenient. It's hard to use on prey, but if you ever take it out, your foes all run away. The Inn at Frostholm. There's a cat named Bildadur, with milk in a saucer, and reading a book with her whiskers awry. She's no one's cat, which means she's her own. She's granted a nook and a light to read by. There's a sword on the mantle that once was a weapon, and now is a memory, hilt and a flame. Everyone says it's a sword, that they know of, but they don't remember a word of its name. There is an inn in the wood they call Frostholm. So cold it is, and no stranger to storm. But if you can find it, the sword it stands ready, the cat she is reading, the beds are all warm. Packing for the deeper realms. Pack all your torches, and then having packed them, get all your axes wherever you rack them. Polish your swords up, grind out the nicks. A dungeon is no place for waving sharp sticks. But you may as well pack one in case all your swords and axes get mangled by mangling wards. Pack 1 sack for gemstones, a helm for your face, then pack 2 more torches, you know, just in case. That's what I look like when I go camping. Kiliak Seir tells it like it is. I'm pretty sure that's Kiliak there in the picture. Make sure I get a good angle there. Yeah. A most distinguished gentleman. I'll give you my opinion, as a dragon of renown. If you see a human, well, you've got to gulp one down. An elf is much too stringy, and a werewolf has those claws. If you see a human, though, just stuff one in your jaws. Dwarves aren't much for eating, you've got to eat a bunch. But if you're near a human town, do stop on by for lunch. And the ones with armor on, stay clear of those with bows. But humans are a delicious friend, and trust me, I would know. Too many dragons. Some people say that one dragon's too many. Last time I counted, I had around 20. The Sword House. There is no shortage of breathless reportage on blades that draw dizzying arcs in the air. Town squares all murmur with barely held fervor about some long battle of some men somewhere. Fewer are stories which recount the glories of those who could have drawn a sword but did not. If only they blabbered on the noble scabbard the way they do swords, well, it might help a lot. Grumped. There is a green leaf troll, leaf troll, leaf troll. There is a green leaf troll, green as a leaf. There is a green leaf troll, leaf troll, leaf troll, who likes a little sweet roll and a slice of beef. House Dark Magic. Dark magic wizards, they hold no truck with demons or devils, but still the name stuck. Dark magic warlocks are gentle and sweet. They're never found prowling for children to eat. Dark magic sorcerers, to the last wand, of darkness are not especially fond. There's maybe one dark magic who bears the name, who might be considered somewhat less than tame. He hasn't been seen for years, wipe your brow. There's no reason to think he'd show up just now. Acquisitions Incorporated. If you've lost something and now you can't find it, makes sense to call gents to refine who've refined it. One thin one, one short one regular sized, and they only bill when they found what you've prized. No ghost too ghastly, no lion too maned, no giant too vasty, no mind beast too brained. If you happen to find what you sent them to find, do send them a note that says, never mind. One man's treasure. If you're going in search of some treasure divine, listen to me, I can save you some time. The guardian statues take spring and fall off. If you want them in autumn, they're likely to scoff. The crown of great sorrow is kind of a bummer. The gold bass of grit is in need of a plumber. The many shoe stockings can only make claws. The Wolfmaster's circlet, allergic to dogs. The invisible tunic, it's fine, I suppose, if you like wearing 300-pound clothes. Once again, we've got an excellent little piece of art there. I'll make sure I got a good angle for you. If you've tired of commonplace food... Oh, Lorvel's Larder. If you've tired of commonplace food, if you don't want to eat, but don't want to seem rude, if you slaver for flavors that aren't so subdued, then stop by Lorvel's Ladder. Her larder... then stop by Lorvel's Larder. See, you got me. Her larder, it trundles around on a cart. That's halfway together and halfway apart. And when you approach, she might wake with a start and say, "Welcome to Lorvel's Larder." Ugh, larder. She has jars of something and candied things too. 100 colors of cheese, not just blue. Red wyvern's eggs in a savory roux. Boxes of foxes as pets, not to chew. Savory nuts, good in salad or stew. And she's sure to run out soon, so do join the queue to load up at Lorvel's Larder. Hello.
Hello. Keep going.
That's the missus that just wandered through the shop. And that's Basil Datura. He doesn't help as much. He's here for moral support. Irony lesson. I got a ring, and it makes me invisible. No one can see me. A marvelous thing. As I suggested, your eyes have been bested. Completely invisible. except for the ring. Girl at Arms. She can play at princess, if that's what she wants to do. Might not be my first choice, but it isn't mine to choose. She can be a wizard if she finds a wand she likes. She can be a ranger if she likes taking hikes. She can be a roguish one. 'Twas always good at hiding. She could be a girl at arms, such is her skill in riding. She might be a thing for which no one has made a name. She may chart a course for those who want to do the same. She might have left the world behind to dwell in velvet space, but I'll keep a plate for her at dinner, just in case. The contents of Vault 23B Jackdaw. 1 vial spring water, source unknown. 1 handful dirt, in which coins had been sown, like seeds one supposes, plus 1 wind-up man, who weeps in his hands like a drip in the sands. Of a desert, that is. It serves no good purpose. 1 polished dream lens, ready for purchase. The contents of Vault XX Oriole. 3 large brown gloves, all alike for some reason. 1 doll which laughs at the change of the season. 1 clever fish with a rod to catch men. 1 man on the line saying, "Never again." He'll be caught tomorrow, his oath to misspend. The line is a thread with a coin at the end. The Gnomish Bank of Philindem. Gnomes are not the tallest folk, nor are they the shortest. But that is neither here nor there. Their vaults are like a fortress. They can and do store valuables, for those who know the system. Deposit holes are everywhere. It's possible you miss them. Opening a bread box, and then a second time. Or give a stump a quarter term, and wait to hear the chime. Their vaults are named for winged things, for few gnomes ever see them. They churn there in the torchlit dark, and dream one day to be them. Guardian's Lullaby. I've taught kings their manners, child, wrangled the thanes. I've sheathed all the bitter blades west of the crane. I beg of you, child, as the wheat begs the rain, to sleep. From the tooth of that mountain, child, all of the way, to the reefs that lie reaching round Tormlin Bay, children are doing what their parents say, to sleep. I've parleyed with centaurs, child, knelt at the feet of leaf-laden forest kings, thick with deceit. I beg of you, child, while the rain falls in sheets, to sleep. My horses are weary, child. I'm weary, too, from making this world a place worthy of you. What is your bidding, child? What must I do? To sleep. Weapons and their kin. Everyone knows now that swords live in families, that daggers have covens, and axes their clans, that spears have a sister, that shields have a brother, that wands have another wand that they can't stand, that bows dwell in clutches, and hammers in halls, and lances, poor lances, have no friends at all. Sunbeam, son or daughter. If you are born a son to me, Sunbeam will be your name. And if a daughter you shall be, I'll call you just the same. For from the top of parapets, and from the mouth of coronets, baronets or baronets, it ever was your name. On villainy. There's some who is willin' to win as a villain, and child, you may as well let 'em, 'cause sooner or later, their friends will turn traitor, and some other villain will get 'em. Alright, more art. Let me get that art there in the shot for you. Alright. 3 swords. 3 swords hanging from a tree, and none is like the other. The tree was planted years ago. The seed was from my mother. Heavy are they on the bough, for they are growing too. They grow down and I grow up, and one day I will choose. One day I'll be tall enough to pick one and leave 2, or maybe it's choosing me, and I just never knew. And so that concludes Lexcalibur by Mike Krahulik and Jerry Holkins. And as a little special on the back jacket there, books that Jerry Holkins wishes Jerry Holkins had written. Leviathan, the fitness program for sea monsters. The Ironwood Triptych, Lookouts, A Boy Must Learn, May We Die in the Forest. He might still write that one. Lexcalibur 2, The Word in the Stone. Croissant, parenthesis, S, parenthesis. How I Found a Strange Trunk That Contained Everything I Ever Wanted, the Jerry Holkins story. All right. Thank you to those who have joined me thus far. We have one more story. Let me refresh the pipes. There you go. And of course, we're going to end this evening's festivities with a classic. A book older than me. Literally, this book is older than me, not just the story. How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. Wish me luck. Get that good OG Dr. Seuss art there. All right. Who's and Reeves. A special note when this book was gifted to me. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Let me hold from the top there. That might help. There we go. For Teddy Owens. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why, no one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there at Christmas Eve, hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm, lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now imagining a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming, I must find a way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew, all the Who girls and boys would awake bright and early, they'd rush for their toys. And then, oh, the noise, noise. That's one thing he hated, the noise. Noise. Sort of looks like my tree. Noise. When the Who's young and old would sit down to feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand and the Whos would start singing. They'd sing and they'd sing and they'd sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this whole Christmas thing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how? Then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. Oh my goodness, I skipped a page. Good. Okay. Okay. Rewind. I know just what to do, because he just got the idea. The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and clucked, what a great Grinchy trick. With his coat and his hat, I'll look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. I'm going to skip that part just a little bit. There we go. Okay. If I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh and he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, "Get up!" And the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Who's lay a snooze in their town. All their windows were dark. All the Who's were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, "This is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. Those stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorns and plums, and he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimbley. And yes, it's chimbley. It's spelled correctly there. Because Dr. Seuss. Then he slunk to the icebox he took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleared out the icebox as quick as a flash, while that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. "And now," grinned the Grinch, "I'll stuff up the tree." And the Grinch grabbed the tree, and he started to shove, when he heard a small sound, like the coo of a dove. It must be a theme with our streams. He turned around fast, and he saw a small Who. Little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter, who'd got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, "Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?" But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie on the thought, and he thought it up quick. "Why, my sweet little tot," the fake Santa Claus lied, "there's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, and I'll bring it back here." And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Then the last thing he took was the log for their fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On their walls he left nothing but the hooks and some wire. And the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the others Who's mouses. It's hard to be a mouse out in Whoville. It was a 1/4 dawn, all the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a snooze when he packed up his sled. Packed it up with their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags and the tinsel and the trimming and trappings. Max is putting in work. Good job. All right. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet. He rode with his load to the tip top to dump it. Pooh-pooh to the Who's, he was grinchiously humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up now. I just know what they'll do. Their mouths will all hang open a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry boo-hoo. "That's a noise," grinned the Grinch, "that I simply must hear." So he paused, and then the Grinch put his hand to his ear. and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry. Very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. When he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or the other, it came just the same. And the Grinch with his Grinch feet, ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled there 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day, and the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light. He brought back the toys and the food for the feast. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. All y'all in the chat, all of y'all who watch this later on. I hope this brings you a little more of that festive cheer this time of year and later on when it's watched again. And we'll see what we get up to next time this time of year. I think next week we'll be doing some just good old video games. But who knows? I've got plenty of other books like this up on the bookshelves here in the library. You have to say it like that or it doesn't count. So, sound off in the chat, sound off in comments, hit us up on social at Front Chill, and let us know what kind of programming you want to see, and we'll try and make that happen because we all like the game together. Thank you so much, and happy holidays.